Good morning, PCC. How's everyone doing? I'm here. I am Joseph Krishna, your interim worship leader, and I'm going to introduce to you, or many of you might know, Larry Noonan, who will be leading us into our first opening song this morning.
Testing 1, 2. Let's stand, shall we? We're going to sing a familiar hymn this morning. Come thou fount of every blessing. I want to hear you this morning, so sing your hearts out. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy praise. Strings of mercy never ceasing, calls for song the loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon it, thy redeeming love. Hitherto your love has blessed me, you have brought me to this place, and I know your hand will bring me safely home by your good grace. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger, brought me with his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Like a goodness, like a fetter, bring my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it. Seal it by thy courts above. I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. I will sing, I will sing, I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. I will sing of the mercies of the Lord. Oh, in my mouth will I make known thy faithfulness, thy faithfulness. With my mouth will I make known thy faithfulness to all generations. I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. I will sing, I will sing, I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. I will sing of the mercies of the Lord. Excellent singing. You may be seated.
Welcome home, PCC, and welcome to all of you online. Thanks for joining us together today. My name is Lisa Tyndall. I've been hanging around here for about 15 years, and it took 15 years for them to ask me to host. So we'll see how this goes today. By day, I'm a personal trainer and a mom of 3 at 3 different schools, so that's a lot of fun right now. But if you're new here with us today, we'd love you to check out online, wearepcc.com/Sunday. There you're going to find our connection card, our sermon notes, and our Beyond Sunday to help you get connected. Also, a great tool to help you get connected is our new app. It's called Church Center, so you can find it in the App Store. It's going to look like this on the homepage when you open it up. At the bottom, you can just click Groups and take a gamble in joining a group. That's where I got connected 15 years ago, and some of those friends are people I've walked through life together with for a long time, so I highly recommend getting connected that way. Next Sunday, we're going to have a worship and praise gathering here at 10:30 a.m., so come on out for that. We'll be closing out our series that we have now and jumping off into a new series on the book of James. And now I want to invite Jackie Ronan to come up for the children.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jackie with Family Ministry, and today we're going to have a book that we'll share with our kids, and then I'll also have a little announcement about some plans that we have for the new year. So first, if the kids want to come up, anybody interested to come up and join me on the stage, I'm going to sit down, and we're going to go over this book, and the book will also be up on the screen for everyone else to enjoy. Have you guys heard of Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day? You do? Okay. Well, this is by Judith Viorst, and it's a popular children's book. And so, audience, I would love for you to join us so that every time we come upon the words, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I'd love for you to join me in saying that, okay? So we'll have some audience participation. All right. Here we go. I'm going to move this here. Okay. Yeah, it's on the screen. Here we go. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on a skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running. And I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At breakfast, Alexander found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal. And Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'm going to move to Australia. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot also got seats by the window, too. I said I was being scrunched. I was being mushed. I said, if I don't get a seat by the window, I'm going to be carsick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Thanks. At school, Mrs. Dixon liked Paul's picture of a sailboat better than my picture of an invisible castle. At singing time, she said, I sang too loud. At counting time, she said, I left out 16. Who needs a 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said Philip Parker was his best friend and that Albert Moyer was his next best friend and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off the strawberry part and lands in Australia. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll with little coconut sprinkles on top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in a dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. That's what it was. Because after school, my mom took us to the dentist, and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week, and I'll fix it, said Dr. Fields. Next week, I said, I'm going to Australia. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot. And while we were waiting for my mom to go get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And then, when I started crying, because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. And when I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I told everyone. No one even answered. So then, we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes. But then the shoe man said, "We're all sold out. They made me buy plain all white ones, but they can't make me wear them." When we picked up my dad from his office, he said I couldn't play with his copying machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk. I was as careful as I could be, except for my elbow. He also said, don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said, please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. There were lima beans for dinner. I hate lima beans. There was kissing on TV. I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain. And I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. And I hate my railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse night light burnt out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not me. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are just like that, even in Australia. Okay, guys, thanks so much. Go back. Okay, so basically, what is the moral of the story, right? You'll hear more about why we chose this story in the sermon today. But it also gave me an opportunity to share with you something about family ministry. You know, kids can have terrible, horrible, very bad days, and teenagers can also have terrible, horrible, very bad days, and adults, we know that. We know we could have terrible, horrible, very bad days. And sometimes, if we're not careful, those feelings can become thoughts of depression, despair, anxiety, and even can get very negative. So for family ministry this year, we're going to be focusing on mental health for the entire year. And so we're going to have a variety of events, speakers, classes, talks, coffees, where we'll be covering this subject. And our theme for this year is called Help for the Hurting, being heard, bringing hope, and building resilience for our families. We have a first event coming up September 29th. It's called the 1024 Movement with Kirksey Pierce and Tara Rumler. Many of you know Kirksey Pierce as she's a former PCCer, ordained minister, and she wrote the book Shut Up, as in shut up to the negative voices. She teamed up with a lady named Tara Rumler, who has a significant background with Young Life. And together, the two women created this organization called the 1024 Movement. We're inviting our parents and our students to come together for this evening's event. We will meet together, we'll have dinner, we'll have an overview presentation, and then we will separate out. We'll have parents here in the sanctuary and students in the fellowship hall. The idea being that parents, we will cover areas of helping our kids, and the students will cover the area of helping their friends. Because we do know, research also shows, that when students have these feelings of anxiety, despair, having terrible days, they often go to their friends first. And so we want to equip our students. All right, thank you so much. Please say hello to one another, and we'll go on. Thank you.
All right, if I can have you guys turn your attention back up here. You can chit-chat more after the service. We're going to move into a time of offering. My family gives because we believe in the mission of PCC and how we help people who are in need, as well as just connecting with each other and having a safe place here to call home and go out back into the community and connect with those around us. There's a couple ways you can give. You can give, there's these mailboxes now in the back, or you can give electronically. And now we're going to go into a time of offering ourselves up as we go into a congregational reading. We're going to read it all together. So a few weeks ago, I was like, what is happening? But this is what you do. You read it all together. All right. Lord God, we desire to praise you that by your very nature, you are absolutely trustworthy. I call to God, and he saves me. I cry out in distress, and he hears my voice. Your right hand will guide me, and your right hand will hold me fast. You are trustworthy, Lord.
Church, will you stand with us, please? We're going to do things a little bit differently today. We have a kind of a stripped back set for you. But we're going to go into this song that talks about making room. And I'll let it speak for itself, but my hope and my prayer for you guys this morning is that we choose to set our eyes upon Jesus and that we make room for him to do whatever he wants to do in this place this morning. Amen?
I will make room Do whatever you want to. I will make room for you to do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look for in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace. One more time we sing. So turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look for in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace. In the light of His glory and grace. One more time. In the light of His glory and grace. Grander earth has quaked before, moved by the sound of His voice. Seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken for my regard. But through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well. Through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me. Lord, be it for me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And this mountain that's in front of me, thrown into the midst of the sea. Through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well. Through it all, my eyes are on you. It is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. The waves and wind still know
Amen. You may be seated. How many could declare that today? It is well with my soul. Amen. How many of you can declare that you have had a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day? A couple applauses there too, right? Sometimes there's lament and sometimes there's praise, and it's part of this life that we get to walk together. I'm Scott Kirksey. I'm one of your pastors on staff. I am thrilled to be with you here today, both in-house and online. I love that you're joining with us online from wherever you are, and I am so stoked that this room is full of people praising the Lord, acknowledging that the wind and the waves, they still know His name. Yours too, right? Okay, so I want to tell you, even in this last week, I just dropped my youngest off at college for the first time. Yeah, that's got some feels to it. And I think even too, what I realize is that sometimes in these big moments in our lives when we are going through like a milestone moment, I kind of reminisce. And maybe you do this too. It's kind of like this idea of like, I could picture my kid now like, oh my gosh, you're going to college. And I can picture her younger and younger and younger, all the stages, these like snapshots in my mind of the times I remember of her growing up. And I was thinking about this even too, going back to the day, I remember the day we realized that we were pregnant with Clara. And I remember that day because it was so wild. We'd gone rock climbing that day. We had gone indoor rock climbing, not knowing my wife was pregnant at all. It was that evening that we discovered it. But as I was thinking about this passage that we're going to be in today, and I was thinking about rock climbing, and if you raise your hand if you've ever rock climbed or done indoor rock climbing, right? It's pretty exciting. Now, remember the moment when you learned how to lean into the harness for the first time. When you decided that it was going to be okay to let go of the handholds and to lean back for the first time. Now, for me and my wife, I remember she was, I'm a little more of the adventurer in the family. She was going along with this, and I remember her looking down and going, oh my gosh, you've got me, right? Like, you got me, you're paying attention, you see what's going on? To make sure I wasn't chatting with somebody else, which was a thing I would do. But to know that if she let go of the handholds, that she would be okay, that she wouldn't fall, that she'd be safe. You've got me, right? You see me, right? And so now, even as a parent, and I'm launching my child off to school, it felt a little bit like I was the one holding the rope for her for a long time. And now I was kind of handing that rope to the Lord, going, she's really far away from me now. Like, you got her, right? Like, you see her? You got this? And it's not like the Lord was ever not seeing her. It's not like He didn't have her all along. But there was a sense of that, just that distance that I wouldn't be there to catch her so immediately. And I needed the Lord to do that. And I was counting on Him to do that. So as we go through this series, we've been in Finding the Way, Psalm 119. There's parts of this journey that have been a little bit more smoother road where you find praise. There's moments that has been maybe a little bit of a steeper climb, maybe even grabbing onto handholds as you climb, finding your way. And today we're going to be looking at what is it like to just lean away from the wall for the first time, maybe for you. What is it like to lean in to that trust, asking God, you see me, right? You've got me, right? Some days, as Alexander had, are terrible, horrible, no good, and very bad days. And I had to write that down because I knew I was going to butcher it. But even thinking about that, it's like some days we lean on the Lord more than others. Well, today we're in verses 153 to 168. If you do not have a psalm card and you need one, would you raise your hand? Someone will come and bring you one. There's one right over there. One couple in the back over here. Just keep your hand up. Someone will bring you a card. So if you're new with us today, what we've been doing as we go through this psalm, we've been taking blocks of time to look at this individually on our own, to reflect on this section of Scripture. And we've been typically taking 5 minutes. And so I'm going to give you 5 minutes here in just a moment. Marty's going to play in the background. But today I'm going to actually only give you 4 minutes because I want to save that minute for later. And you'll see why in a little bit. But I'm going to give you 4 minutes to highlight, circle, write on your card. What is it saying to you? What is it speaking to you? What is God saying? And then I'm going to ask for you to just share your thoughts of reflection. So go ahead and take those 4 minutes. You're welcome to take notes, but do one thing. Save a little bit of space on your card. I'm going to ask you to write 2 words on your card later on. Okay, I'd like to hear from you. What did you notice? What did you circle? What stood out to you? Even just call out a number verse if that's what stood out to you. A highlight. Anyone? Kathy. Your compassion, Lord, is great. God preserves. (165) Great peace have those who love your law, and nothing can make them stumble. Great peace sounds pretty good. Your words are true. Glenn. One more time. Your 16 times. That's a great point. He keeps pointing to the Lord. I love that. Super cool. Thank you for your words. Thank you for sharing on that. One of the things I noticed, did you hear how often he talks about the trouble that he's in? Name one word out of there that speaks to the trouble. Persecution, suffering, wicked. Yeah, he's got foes. What did I hear? Say it again. They didn't obey your word. Yep. He's got worry about his life. He's got falsehoods around him. He's got foes, which we don't use a lot. I mean, anybody use foes this week? I didn't use foes. First time right here. But he's weak and worn in this text. He has this half of what he's talking about as being, I'm in this place of trouble. And so I want to ask you, even too, as the psalmist is a model for the way he's writing a psalm, it's a song to the Lord. He's actually pouring out his heart to share his trouble, to share his worry, to share the things that are challenging, to share the things that are heavy to carry. So I want to ask you, and this is where we're going to take that other minute, but what is the weight that you carry? What is it that you want the Lord to see? What is it that you're holding on to that takes away your peace? That doesn't give you the rest of reclining into the harness, but that keeps you gripping? Where do you want the Lord to see you? The first word of this whole card is look. So take a moment, and just on your card, I want you to write the word look. Anywhere at the bottom, the margin, wherever you find space. And then right near that word, I want you to write, what is it that you're carrying? That if you had an opportunity to say to the Lord directly, Lord, look at this. And maybe it's a name of somebody, maybe it's your marriage, maybe it's your debt, maybe it's decisions that you need to make that you don't know the answers to. Maybe for the kids, maybe it's a bully. Maybe it's something at school that's hard. Whatever it is for you, right next to that word, I want you to write, look, and then your word. And I'm not going to ask you to share this. I'm not going to ask for that. It may be very personal to you. Something that might be unfair, a place of pain, something you need to let go of. Now, as you look at your card, I want to invite you to pray one word to the Lord. The Lord is present here today. He is with you here today, just to be able to pray one word and say, look. Lord, you've got me, right? You see me? This is where I need you. Three times the psalmist uses the word according. If you caught that word, somebody mentioned the word preserve. Barb mentioned the word preserve. If you catch that even in there where he says, preserve my life. There are 3 points where he says, preserve my life. It's in 154, it's in 156, it's in 159. He often speaks of how he loves and follows the Lord's precepts, laws, statutes, but when he asks the Lord to preserve his life, there's this according afterward. According to, in accordance with. And he doesn't say, Lord, answer me according to the fact that I have been such an obedient Christian. And he doesn't say, Lord, preserve my life according to how great of a manager of my sin that I am. According to the good works that I do, the service that I do, how much I give, how much I offer. Instead, he calls on the identity and the character of God. Now, this quote from David Benner says, "What a small God we would have if divine character was dependent on our behavior." And so the psalmist doesn't point to say, hey, because of my behavior, come through for me. That is something we can get very stuck on. We come back to it. Oftentimes we come back to like, Lord, where were you when I needed you? Haven't I been good? But the truth is that the psalmist brings us back to is it isn't according to me. It's according to you and what I know of you. So if we look at verse 154, pointing to God's promises, he doesn't lean into his works for his rescue. Instead, he points to God's promises as the place of his trust. He says, God, I'm calling on you because of what you've already said, for you to come through on your word. I'm counting on that. I'm counting on what you said. Even in verse 162, if you look at your card, it says, I rejoice in your promise, like one who finds great spoil. Spoil is another word I don't use that often. I like to think that he's saying like one that hit the jackpot. Like somebody who won the lotto is what I feel about your promise. In verse 156, the psalmist implores God to come through and preserve his life, and he does so based on his laws. In other words, the covenant law that God proclaimed. If you could remember this even too from our Deuteronomy series, it was full of this idea that if you were obedient, you would live in blessing. If you were disobedient, you'd have a rough time. So as we try to reconcile, why are we having a rough time when I'm living obediently? He points to God's covenant laws. The psalmist suffers while living obediently, and he reconciles that by saying, Lord, answer me according to what you've said in your law. This covenant that we have together, this relationship of us being bonded to one another, that I am committed to you and you are committed to me. Answer me according to that. And then the third, according or in accordance with, we see the psalmist call on God to preserve his life, but this time it's according to your love. Because our God is love. The psalmist is asking God to come through because he is love, because he loves me. I can ask him, and this is what the psalmist is doing. So notice, he does not hold up his accomplishments as the reason why. He doesn't deserve the response. Instead, he points to God's identity, to God's character and his commitment, his love, his compassion. These are the reasons I will be steadfast in my trial. He doesn't mention these things of how obedient he is because he thinks God should be answering him. Instead, he mentions them to say, in the midst of my trial, I will still be obedient to you. This is how much I value you. Alistair Begg says this. He says, we are not saved by our good works, but by the man on the cross. Whatever you've written on your card, the psalmist shows us that we can lean into the harness and lean away from the handholds of trying to carry this weight on our own strength. Maybe you just hold that card up to say, Lord, you maybe even want to cover your word with your thumb when you do, because it's personal. To say, Lord, look. Would you see me in this place? Can I lift this up to you based on your love for me, on the covenant relationship that we have with one another, because you've promised to be with me? The psalmist knows this, and yet he's still enduring suffering. I had this thought recently about the account of the crucifixion where the thief is next to the Lord on the cross. And there's this moment where he says, the thief says, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And he says, truly, today you will be with me in paradise. And I thought of this kind of in a quirky way, and I thought, man, just imagining this guy on the cross, and he's there, and he's, maybe just letting those words wash over him. Today you'll be with me in paradise. Today you'll be with me in paradise. To the point of maybe even opening one eye to see if he was actually there yet. But he's not. He's on a cross, even though he's been rescued by the Lord. Suffering consistent even while he is saved. So many of Jesus' miracles are happen instantaneously. Like, whoa, the blind man can see all of a sudden. And maybe he was thinking there, like, is it going to happen right now? Well, maybe he meant later today. Right? Danielle Strickland says this. She says, following Jesus doesn't mean that all suffering will go away. It means that God's presence will be with you in the midst of it. There's another account in the New Testament where the disciples are in a boat during a storm and Jesus is taking a nap. And it's like if they had their own card, if they could write on the card, they'd be like, look, sinking boat, I need you. I need you to come through as the waves bash and bash and bash the boat. And the Lord wakes up to this chaos. He's like, you have little faith. Don't you know who you're with? Don't you know who it is that's in the boat with you? And I think about that in some sense, even too, if we think about it in a realistic sense, is like, should they have been napping? Like, that would have been really hard to do. I don't know if any of us could actually nap in a sinking boat. And yet, Jesus says, you have little faith. Why are you panicked? Why are you stressed? Why are you worried about it? Why is that weight on your card so heavy on your heart? How do you hold that? Now, it will require a supernatural trust, I believe, knowing the identity and the compassion of Jesus. The kind people ask about when there's a joy that you have through circumstances that should be eliciting, is that a word? Eliciting? A different response? Maybe the expected response isn't quite there, but you have this crazy joy, and they're like, what is that? How are you okay right now? How do you persevere amidst the trials? Hebrews 12 says this. It says, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. So that you will not grow weary and lose heart. He endured the cross so that you would not lose hope. As I invite the worship team to come on up here, I'd like you to hear the passage. This other verse out of the Message translation. It's a verse out of Luke. It's Luke 11, 28 through 30. I just felt like the Message said it really well. It said, Are you tired? Worn out? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me and watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Just keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. For as much as we panic and we look to see, we call out for God to look, sometimes I imagine him to say the same word back. When I'm like, look at my problem, and he's like, look at me. Look at me. Come with me and I'll make your burden light. That I can lean into that harness and trust. That I can find rest, not because I am good, but because he is. Maybe today you've recognized that you need Jesus to help you with your weight, to help you with what's on your card. Maybe you don't know Jesus or haven't made an official kind of commitment to him to say that I want to walk with you. I need that peace, that supernatural peace. I need that supernatural spirit to walk with me in my life to help me carry the things that are too heavy to carry. If that's you today, I would just encourage you, you can come and pray with me while the worship band plays this next song. You can come and pray with me after. Whatever. Let's make it official. Let's proclaim to the Lord that I am yours and you are mine, and I want to live in that covenant relationship that counts on your promises, that counts on your relationship with me, that counts on your love and your compassion.
Church, will you stand with us one more time as we head into this last song and response?
Creation knows the voice that's spoken to the void, the breath that brought the dust to life, and sang the stars to form. The darkness fears your voice that drove it back before. And though the night is long, I know your light will drive it back once more. And one word from you, things change on your authority. And your word, it's true. Things change on your authority. The fight is not my own. The end is in your hands. I worship you because I know all things must bow to your command. Sing one word from you. Things change on your authority. Your word is true. Things change on your authority. Sing one word from you. Things change on your authority. Your word is true. Things change on your authority. Heaven not prevail, strongholds not be moved, spirits not be silent, and cower at his rule.
Thank you, Scott. And if anybody made a commitment today or wants to come up and talk with Scott or pray with the prayer team, they'll be up here after the service. If anybody's sneaking out now, I just want to ask you if you could please exit through these doors right now today. It's time for us to benedict together with our benediction we say every week. And I want to hear a big woo at the end, okay? All right. May you jump into the arms of Jesus. May he push you out into the world. And may you be healed as you participate in the healing of others. Not because you must, but because you may. This is why you were born. Woo!
Great job.
Thanks.
How do you?
Want to announce again, if you could go exit through the other doors away from the bathrooms, that would be helpful as we're helping someone out on the other side. If you'll exit through the doors away from the bathroom. Thank you.